Hello and welcome once again to Gulf News Straight Bat. Joining me tonight are Mr. Cricket UAE Anis Sajan and Gulf News expert Satish. Okay guys, we've seen the final Super 12 match of the T20 World Cup. India beat Namibia by 9 wickets. Anis, what were your thoughts on the game?
Hi Imran, hello Satish. Yes, a victory which India were expected to walk through Namibia, but a bit too late. India must be sad that they have not been able to make it to a tournament where they were expected to be as favorites. They might regret the 2 losses to New Zealand and Pakistan, but as they said that they were in a group where only 3 teams were strong, and if you lose to 2 good teams, then it's difficult to do the catch up, and that's what happened to Team India. But nonetheless, happy to sign off with a win and probably make sure that they're ready for the next year. Start planning for 1 year from now.
Yeah, that's sensible. Satish, a lot was expected from this India team before the tournament. They were one of the favourites to go all the way and win it. What positives can they take from this now?
The positives, I would say that, they showed a tremendous fighting spirit when their backs were against the wall. When, against Afghanistan, they had to win big, and they were way down in terms of the run rate. They had to first win big so that they increase the run rate to give them a chance when they come into the last game. That is, they beat Afghanistan handsomely. They beat Scotland, and even today they did well against Namibia. As Anis Bhai said, in a team where there are only 4 test playing nations and you lose to 2 of them, you can't win. But the positives, I would say, Ashwin coming back into the team was a big positive because he showed what the Indian team was missing when he didn't play those 2 games. And of course, the other things are there are not many youngsters who have been tried here. So you can't really say that, he is looking for the future or something on those lines. But let's hope that the new captain brings in the new luck, at least.
Yeah, there's several reasons. We've all gone through these, why India haven't made it to the semi-finals. For instance, the toss, which proved to be a decisive factor in most of these games. Kohli was unlucky. He lost the toss against Pakistan and New Zealand, the 2 big games. And India subsequently lost those 2 matches as well. Anis, do you think if the toss had been favourable to India, would the results have been different in those 2 games?
You never know, Imran. Now, in hindsight, you can say that. But to be very honest, it's tough batting first in Dubai. And we've seen only one team able to defend, that is England. After losing the toss, that was in Sharjah. Most of the results have gone for the bigger teams I'm talking about. For the teams which has won the toss has gone on to win. And secondly, India's biggest weakness has been in the T20 is to set up a target. When they are put into bat first, they're not able to win more matches when they are batting first. But when they're chasing, they win almost 88 to 90% of the matches. So that shows a difference in gap that India are not good team when it comes to batting first. And it was exposed once again in this tournament. People talk about the fatigue of bubble, too much of cricket, all said and done. But who knows what would have happened had India batted second. But at the moment, you have to accept they were beaten soundly by both Pakistan and New Zealand, and that's why they're out of the tournament.
Satish, India's opening pair, Rohit Sharma and KL Rahul, have come under some criticism for those first 2 games. Against Pakistan, Afridi got them both out quite cheaply, and against New Zealand, they were dismissed quite early then too. They obviously did better against Afghanistan. They did good against Scotland. They did good against Namibia. But to be honest, I mean, us guys could probably score against those guys. I mean, why couldn't they play when it mattered the most?
That's where the planning comes in. The T20 is all about the opening. Like if you get a good start, you win most of the matches until you get that. And that's where both the teams planned very well to make those inroads. So India should have also planned it better. But even at the start of the tournament, when the team was announced, I said India's 1 batsman short because they were banking too much on these top three guys, Rohit Sharma, Rahul and Kohli, to take them through where Surya Kumar Yadav or Ishan Kishan were only about a few matches experienced in the international level. So that's where I think they made a mistake, because once you get those 1 or 2 wickets, you didn't know how to go about. And of course, it's not about just the openers you should be scoring. If you look at even in Australia, where there were matches when the openers failed, but subsequently the other batsmen came and they rescued the team. So similarly, the first two matches, we were completely outplayed mentally, technically, skill-wise, everything. As the previous question, Anas Bhai said, it is, you can't blame the wicket for everything. You as a champion side, you would want to go and prove yourself on any wicket that you play, whatever the conditions be, whatever the situations you are. That's why this is called the World Cup, and you become the world champions by doing that way. So it is only one part of it that it's again unfair to just criticize them for those two errors. But again, even those two games, I think we went in with a bit of a undercooked. We were in those two games in terms of strategy.
Anis, it seemed that the batsmen struggled to get the runs, especially in the middle overs. That's when they seemed to get bogged down and they just couldn't seem to hit freely. We've mentioned already Sharma struggling in that first game and Rahul, but also the likes of Pant and Pandya. You know, a couple of guys who would think would be really good finishers and help get the score up. Why did they struggle with the bat?
Well, I'm glad you asked this question, Imran. You see, they came into this IPL and when they played into difficult tracks. So when you play on difficult tracks, it's not that you can easily come and start hitting the ball from ball one when you come in the middle and when you've lost your early wickets. And that's what they carried into that World Cup couple of games, where in the first game you saw India with 30-0. In the second game, India lost 3 wickets, even though those were, I wouldn't say unlucky. Whatever they hit in the air went into the hands of the New Zealand fielders. And you have to give credit to the opposition that they bowled well. Now, one important point, I'm glad I remembered this. India had 2 practice matches before they went into this IPL. Now, as I said in my earlier statement, that India are not poor. India are very poor when they set a target. In both the games, India won the toss and decided to field. Now, that is where sometimes you need to have the long vision. You're already a good team as a chaser. Why wouldn't you bat first? Okay, you are playing on a different wicket. ICC Academy is much more flatter. But if you had made that attempt, that how do I break that rut of putting up a target, get into that practice groove, maybe you would have lost both the matches. But then by that time, you would have known that these are the faults I've made. In third match, I'm ready. They didn't do that. They decided to field first. Okay, it's always good to go with the victory in the practice game because you have the confidence. But sometimes I've always believed defeat teaches you more than victory.
Correct.
That's a very good point. Yeah, it seems that they didn't learn from the mistakes there. Satish, I mean, we've discussed the batsmen there, but the bowlers also struggled in those first 2 games. They only managed to get 2 wickets, none against Pakistan and only 2 against New Zealand. I mean, was dropping Ashwin in those first 2 games and opting for a newcomer, Chakrabarti, that seemed to backfire badly, didn't it?
No, in those 2 games, you bring even the best of the best bowlers, they wouldn't have got the wickets for the simple reason. You are not, see, cricket is all about putting pressure on the batter, basically. Like if there's no pressure, you can't get those wickets. With the 120, 150 on board and you don't get those early wickets, you leak runs. And when there's no pressure, you can't get wickets. You can't blame the bowlers per se. I wouldn't go that way. Yes, Ashwin maybe he would have got you that extra wicket, but if maybe instead of losing by 10 wickets or 8 wickets, we would have lost by 7 wickets and 5 wickets. But that's about it. The runs were not there on the board, both the games. They were at least 30 to 40 runs short. That's where a couple of good overs in the middle would have put some pressure on the batsman who would have tried something new and made those mistakes. Those who try something different, other than what they are in the comfort zone, generally makes mistake in cricket. So the Indian bowlers never had the chance to put these batters under pressure on those 2 games. So you can't blame the bowlers for sure. Of course, they can. If you had picked Ashwin, it would have been a good asset, no doubt about it. He proved all those 3 matches that he played. After that, he showed that he is a wicket-taking bowler, and what India missed, he showed. But he wouldn't have made a big difference. Similarly, yesterday, if you look at Afghanistan, the same way, like 120, they had probably the best spinners in the entire world. Like 3 of them can turn the match around. But they couldn't put the same pressure on the batters. So it's about the runs and putting pressure on the batsman consistently by bowling good overs. But once you don't do the first half, that is putting the runs on the board. It's difficult for the bowlers to restrict the batters.
Anis, you touched on the IPL just earlier. Many people were saying that because several of the Indian players have played in the IPL here in the UAE, that they would have been used to the conditions and used to the pitches. Other people are saying that they needed a break from such a long season and going straight into the T20. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, there can be two sides of the coin, Imran. Like if you look at the point from the coach's view, or like Bharat Arun mentioned that they needed a little bit of break or they had the bubble fatigue. But if you have to ask me honestly, they had an ideal preparation playing in the conditions where they were going to play the World Cup. So you cannot ask for a better preparation. It's like when you go to England and you want to play a test match, you need to play a few practice match before you play the first test match to get used to the conditions. So India had the best preparation. Okay, yes, they have been playing too much cricket, but for that, the board should have planned this well in advance that if they are going to send for the England set series, you have to take out some players for the IPL who don't play. And Rohit Sharma, Virat Kohli, and KR Rahul were the three players in the batting department who were the key batsmen of the T20. So that long shot should have been taken. Is the World Cup important? Is the England series important? Or you don't play the IPL? If you have to ask me, if you have not won a World Cup from the beginning after 2007, I would prepare more for the T20 World Cup than think about the England series. But that's everybody's opinion. Everybody will have a different opinion and nothing wrong in it.
Satish, was it fatigue or should they have done better?
I think what is also, I have to give that benefit of doubt to the Indian board is because at that time when India were touring England, it was not sure whether the T20 World Cup would happen, where it will happen, how it will happen. These were the questions were in everybody's mind. But yes, of course, after deciding on the World Cup, maybe, like they could have thought about the IPL, which they could have staggered it if they thought it could have been like a difficult scenario for the players. But I don't think even before the start of the World Cup, none of the players complained. This is, I find
they did not complain, it's right. But you're in England from May.
Yeah, correct.
Second or third week of May. I think they landed in England May. They played the ICC Test Championship in the first week of June or probably whichever date they played. I think after 2 weeks. Then you are playing a tough series against a team like England, which is not easy. We managed to beat them. You come back, you play the IPL, and then you play the World Cup. Trust me, we doing commentary for the IPL as well as the World Cup has drained me off as a person, which is 15-20 minutes, and you guys have been writing all day. So it's tough on us. Imagine the players on the field. So there's no excuses, but if you have a vision, you have a planning, you can make sure that you give rest. And a lot of Australian players took rest. A lot of England players took rest. So it should have been decided, what is your priority? Is the World Cup your priority? Is your IPL your priority? Or the Test series your priority?
That's where I was coming to on as well. Because after the England series, but once you decided on the World Cup, then IPL you could have planned it differently. Or like the players could have planned it differently. That didn't happen. That's what I was trying about to finish it.
Okay, guys, look, this was Kohli's last match as India's T20 captain. He'll be obviously very disappointed to bow out without winning a major tournament as India captain. That's how you create a legacy. I mean, MS Dhoni, he did that. Kohli did make India the #1 Test team, but how do you think he's going to be remembered, Satish, as captain?
Great players not necessarily need to make as a great captains. If you look at Sachin Tendulkar, had a very bad stint as a captain. So you can't, generalize or you can't judge a person based on his captaincy. Yes, he did try. He could have. He had chances. He could have got it. With the talent he had, with the support he had, he could have easily got it. But again, in cricket, you don't aspire whatever you want to aspire, you can't get it. That's the way the sport works. So I don't think it's any blot on his career or anything. Yes, he would have felt bad that yes, I didn't get a major one. But I don't want to judge him based on the captaincy because he's a great player. Whatever he has achieved and he's going to achieve is far more than what we think of.
And Anis, Shastri goes and Dravid comes in. What are you hoping he's going to change?
I want to add on Satish's point about Virat Kohli as a captain. To be very honest, India had the greats like Sachin Tendulkar, Rahul Dravid, the Lakshmans, the Sehwags. But I have to tell, India had never found a player like Virat Kohli, who has won India so many matches on the basis of his batting skill. I don't remember any captain scoring 40 hundreds, out of which you have won 27 ODIs chasing, which speaks about his volume, about his talent as a cricketer. Now, when you talk about his captainship, yes, he couldn't win an IPL title. And this was his first World Cup as a T20 captain. So it's not that he's captain many. Yes, IPL title, I agree. 8 out of 8, he's not won. But sometimes it rubs on your cabinet of the ICC events. So as a captain, yes, he's failed. But as a player, I hope India finds somebody as great as Virat Kohli. Tendulkar must have scored leaps of runs. But tell me how many matches India has won. Whereas Virat Kohli has probably scored even half of runs. India has won half of those matches. I'm sure Satish will agree to this point.
Absolutely, Anish bhai. Absolutely.
And Anish, look, I was just bringing the other point in Shastri. Yes, he's gone. And Dravid comes in. What changes do you think Dravid can make there now?
The advantage of Rahul Dravid has been that he's been already doing the coaching job with the under-19 as well as the National Cricket Academy of India. So that experience he has that eye for talent, that will definitely help. And he's also played cricket at the highest level. But like Satish mentioned, good players don't become good captains or good coaches. We need to see Rahul Dravid managing the senior team is going to be the same as he managed the junior team. It all boils down to when he plays or goes into the ring of fire and tests his, shows his talent, that he's equally a good, like he was a good player, he's a good coach. Only time will say. It's too early to say.
Guys, just another pointer, just going back to Kohli. Before the tournament started, he announced he's going to be stepping down as the captain, and he was criticized for the timing of his announcement. I mean, he could have easily kept that to himself well after the tournament finished and then announced it. Some people are saying that by saying that before the tournament, it's unsettled the team. Possibly. I mean, Anish, do you think that had any factor on the way the team played?
Not really. Not really. He announced it long ago, immediately during the IPL. I think before the IPL or during the IPL. So he had given enough time. It's easy now to, pinpoint. I would look at the other way. If at all he has announced it, maybe the team might get motivated to give him a proper send-off. But yes, they had that 2 bad days, I would rather say, not off days, where they were beaten soundly by the opposition. You have to give credit to the opposition. And as I said, they were in a group where there was no return. In the other group, if you see, there was Sri Lanka, Australia, Bangladesh, England, South Africa. Anybody could beat anybody on that day. And that's what happened. South Africa lost to Australia. Australia lost to England. England lost to South Africa. Still, South Africa couldn't make it. But in this scenario, you lose to the 2 teams. There's no way you're coming back unless there's an upset. And there was very rarely, as a fan, you would like to have an upset. But in cricketing terms, upsets don't happen. Once in a while, it happens.
So look, the first semi-final is on Wednesday between England and New Zealand in Abu Dhabi. And then the next day, it's Pakistan against Australia in Dubai. It's time for some predictions. Who is going to win the World Cup? Anis, you go first.
Tough one, Imran. You know what I had mentioned in the start of the tournament that it would be India. So now if I have to pick one team, as much as I would love Pakistan to win it, I would pick Australia to win this World Cup.
Same here, because they are peaking at the right time, and somebody like Warner or Finch coming into the form just before the crucial games. It's an ominous sign for the opposition. So it is Australia, I would say. They are.
I'm still saying England, but now losing Roy and also Mills.
That's one of the key. I did not use England. Losing Jason Roy is a big blow. Mind you, Johnny Bairstow is out of sorts. Morgan is out of sorts. So who's going to score the runs?
Butler has to score all the runs. But again, most importantly, now Mills was bowling those 4 good overs where you get those 2 quick wickets. So that was more crucial in my opinion.
I wouldn't be surprised if they get beaten by New Zealand in the semi-final.
It's going to be a tough ask now. Okay, guys, I think we'll leave it there for tonight. Thanks to my guests. We'll be back to see how both those semi-final matches go. Meanwhile, you can log into golfnews.com for all the latest news, reviews, videos, and loads more. Thanks and good night.